Welcome everyone to a new Road to Class A video. This is round 2 of my club championship for 2024 at my local club. And we're going to work on some chess analysis. I'm still working on playing the hypermodern approach. I'm using the ready right now in this game. And I'm playing a gentleman I've played many times before at my club, Michael Lawrence, who can play very well at times. And I have to really kind of focus and pay attention to beat him. He's a hard player. So I start with the ready, and he plays knight f6. And I thought, okay, well, he's going to normally go for a King's Indian level setup or type of setup, and he played knight c6, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. I haven't seen this before, not committing a pawn like this, which is very, very interesting. And I thought, okay, well, sorry about that. I thought, well, the whole idea for playing knight c6 or an early bishop g7 is to control the e5 square. So I'm guessing they want to play e5. So we're going to stop that by playing d4. And this would be Nate Solon's recommendation, is to keep them from playing a5. Or not a5, e5, sorry. So I'm following what I believe the course is telling me to do. And I get castled, or what Nate likes to call the super castle. You having your pieces in this type of formation, which is really nice. Can be very suitable. I don't play this anymore, but we'll talk about that in upcoming videos. But at this point in my chess development, I'm still playing the hypermodern approach. I do end up walking away from it, but we're going to continue on. So, all right. At this point, I'm waiting to see what black is going to do. I'm assuming they're going to play bishop e7 and then castle. That would be a good way to go. And he starts there, and I play c4. Immediately kind of contesting the center. And if I need to, I can always take or push past. He plays bishop d7, and I was expecting castle, so this is a little bit different than what I thought. So I'm going to continue on with my plan, which is playing b3 to reinforce my center, and then play bishop to b2. Those are my ideas to kind of line up on the king side. So it's pretty apparent he's going to castle queen side or king side, because he's got no real way to get his queen out. So I play b3. He castles. I play knight c3, a6, and bishop b2. I get everything that I want out of the opening, which is really good. He plays b6, which I'm not quite sure why he's doing that. Maybe he wants to play this or this and then this, but I'm kind of unsure why he's playing that move. I didn't really understand this move whatsoever and what he was trying to accomplish with it. Maybe just gaining space, trying to keep anything out of here, but I'm not sure. So I played knight to e5, and he plays bishop to d6, which to me just felt like a mistake. He moves his bishop here, and I was like, well, there's a lot of tactics, any number of things that can be done here. And at this point, I realized that this was one of the critical moments in the game, if not the critical moment. And there's a lot of tactical opportunities here. And I have my notes here. I mentioned that this was the critical point in the game in my analysis. I'm happy with my calculation here. There's a lot of tactical ideas and opportunities here with pins and exchanges to hopefully win an exchange on a1. So I'm really pleased to see as much as I did. And I was very diligent in my calculation at this point in the game. I spent 12 minutes in this position working through everything out to find c takes d5, which at first blush is like, whoa, that's a total blunder. Why didn't you do that? Now, it's definitely not the best move. The best move, which I did see, was knight takes d7, queen takes d7. Then, so my issue that I found was that it was a move order thing. But c takes d5, knight takes d5, knight takes d5, e takes d5. And then I win that pawn, bishop d5. And I actually saw the rest of this too. So rook a d8, bishop g2, bringing my bishop back, which is a really tough move to see, but you have to see that there's going to be some discovery types of things with going after this bishop, or any number of things. You have to be a little bit careful when you've got a piece out there in the middle of nowhere. This is where I did not see f5, but I did see queen e3 to queen d3 coming after this. So I didn't see f5 in here, but I saw some of this other stuff. So I was really happy with seeing a lot of the, actually it shows that I actually did see f5. So I did see a lot of this variation, which is really happy. The other thing that I saw right from the get-go, actually here, was f4 instead. Just solidify my position, but I really didn't like that. It would keep all his pieces jammed up, but then he can bring his knight in to here, and I just didn't want to allow that. To me, it just felt kind of goofy. So I played c takes d5. So I have the move order a little bit incorrect, but I wanted to get this open as quickly as possible, and the best way to do that was this way. So is it the most accurate way to play? No, but I think it still works, even though it says it's inaccuracy, because the other player still has to work through all of the calculations. He played e takes d5, and I saw these, but I saw it further. So the engine stops here, but I saw all the way to here. And to me, I was like, oh, okay, this is good. I'm up in exchange, and we're totally doing fine. The other thing I saw was queen takes a8 as well. Excuse me. Apologize for that. So, like I said, I'm really happy with all my calculation here, and it actually finished off this way. So queen takes c7, knight takes d5, knight takes d5, and bishop takes d5. And rook a to e8. Now, I think he should have played d8, but in here I made a mistake. I should have just brought my bishop back, which I'd saw in my other calculation. Just bring it back. And I was at the end of my calculation, and I didn't reassess the position when I should have. So this was definitely a mistake, and I made this game harder on myself by making this next move, because I went from plus 2.6 to only plus 1. So I dropped quite a bit, more than a pawn positionally, because of how I played this. And this is on move 15, where, I only spent 2 minutes here. I should have just moved the bishop back, and I didn't. I played here. And I think you can already see where my mistake is. He can attack my bishop, and now I'm kind of stuck. There's not a whole lot that I can do. This would have been the better way to play. This is the engine line, but I played too quickly, and I totally missed it. So he played and found the best move, so you do have to be careful. I came back, I gave up my pawn, and I kicked him back. Instead of moving back, he actually just kicked my bishop, and I moved back, and he played knight to d5. And I thought, oh, okay, so now it says that's an inaccuracy, but to me that's a little bit more like a full mistake, if not a blunder. The engine can obviously play this a lot more accurately, but it's not hard to find, bishop f3. And then when he plays rook f7, you just pick up the piece. So now we're just up a full piece. And at this point in the game, now the engine wants you to play f5 and give up the exchange, but that's tough to see. And I saw all of this. I saw a pretty deep, or not pretty deep, but I saw further. It says, from here, I saw to move 22, so that would be 4 moves ahead with queen h3, and I saw that at least 2 of the moves stop mate, and he'd be able to have at least 1 open line to his king for a potential check. So this was going to be the move. I saw all of this. So I was pretty happy with that analysis. And then I saw pretty much how it played out, which was nice. And can't play this way. Why? Because then this happens and you lose your queen. So then it would be very tough to play. And I saw all of this. I saw queen to h3. So now I had to decide whether or not this was playable and that I could stop checkmate. And from here, actually, I found these moves as well. So I actually saw further. I saw to move 23. And from here, I found 2 moves that I believe both are viable options, because he's going to come here and try to checkmate me. And I thought, well, I need at least a tempo, or I need a way to stop all that from happening. And I saw all of it. So I came here threatening checkmate. I think here this move works too. And we would go from there and then pick up the queen. So I saw both of those being potential outcomes, and for at this point in the game, I'm up a clear piece, and as long as I can stop checkmate, which it seems as though I can, I have this game won. So he protected that, and I forced a queen trade, and at this point in the game, I had to really decide whether or not I could trade queens and protect this pawn or be able to get out, and I decided that I could. So he picked up that pawn and he played g5. I did really like this move from Mike. This was a great move. He's still trying to fight, which is awesome to see, and I like playing fighting chess. So it's good that he didn't just try to lay down and give the game to me. I still had to think about it and get through it, because if I do take that pawn, I have to be careful by checkmating. So we have to still be very, very careful in this position. It's not super easy. So I played rook a to d1, ignoring that piece, because if he comes here, I always have it as a blockader. And I said, okay, well, we're going to trade off some pieces. And now at this point, I'm like, okay, now there's no random checkmates that are going to happen now that I got a pair of rooks off the board. And here. This is still an endgame that has to be played. I think it's still kind of challenging, and I still have to convert this. I am up a piece, but it's still difficult. So at this point in the game, I took some stock. It's moved 31, and I've got 53 minutes on the clock, and he's got 48. So we've got a good amount of time left in this classical game, which is nice. And I thought to myself, okay, I slowed down. I said, what is my plan here? What would I like to have happen? And what I would really like to have happen is the c5 square is a critical square, so I want to be able to play this. I want to get my rook or bishop here, and then I want to get my rook or bishop in front of my king and get those pieces active, and eventually blockade or pick up the h-pawn. Those are all of my ideas. If I can do that, and I can get protection of my f-pawn and my a and b pawn, I think I've got this game pretty much won. So we start executing the plan. The other key thing is the first king to the middle is usually the one that can dictate the majority of the endgame. So I'm a little bit more active with my king. I get some tempo on his rook, and I'm preparing getting my pieces where I want them. Going after this pawn, he's protected it. I get part of my plan in place. I've got all of my stuff locked down, so now I've got a free rook to move around. And he's good. There's a couple of checks. He kind of maneuvers my king around. I get to push his king back. I'm locking my opponent out, so he can't move forward anymore. And he's got to deal with my blockade in some way. And here I'm like, well, as long as if I can get the rooks off, I think I'm doing well. So now I have finished my plan and I'm able to get the pawn. Step 1 is complete. Now my next step is I really want to get my pieces here and here, or if I can get my bishop here, it's protecting all my pawns, and maybe my rook back here, keeping his king out of coming into my position while I keep maneuvering my king towards these pawns. I think we're in a good spot. If I can trade off a pair of rooks, I'm feeling even better, because then there's no stopping. So I said, okay, I need to move back. And at this point I said, well, I think this is really the dream position, because now he's tied to hanging onto this pawn. His king moved forward, so he can't move back to go protect it. He's got to use his rook to protect it, and that's just silly. And if he decides to trade these off for the rook, I'm perfectly fine with that, because that's totally winning. I pick up the pawn, he picks up the pawn, and I move closer to his king. We get his king out, and here he decided that he wanted to pick up that pawn, so I can pick up the A pawn and rook B1. And at this point in the game, I'm extremely happy with my calculation and maneuvering. I have figured out all of the things that I wanted to figure out, and now we just have to convert, trying to get this pawn promoted or trade off the rooks. Now he's not going to trade off the rooks easily, so I have to try to figure that out. But the critical square in the position is this one here. If I can control that with my rook and my bishop, I think I'm good. So these next maneuvers I really like, because this whole idea is to get, I want to get if I can get my pawn here and my bishop here, I'm protecting this, and I can get my rook on this file. There's no way he can ever promote that pawn, as long as I can get it done before he moves it 3 squares. So I came up with this lovely idea of coming around like this, and I have exactly what I want, and now there's no way of getting the bishop around. He can't move forward. His king can't come in. It's going to take a long time. If he moves away from defense of the pawn, I can always take it, and now we can just move our pawn. And at this point, Michael decided that he had enough and realized that he can't move forward. So really strong, great game. I enjoyed this endgame. I was really happy with my calculation. It's probably one of the best games that I've played. Not the best in the opening, but I was pretty happy with my calculation skills. I started working on calculation and tactical themes a lot during this time. I'm starting to change in my thinking about chess overall, and I felt really, really good in this game. And the game shows. I look at this game and I can't be too overly critical about it. So what do you like about this game? Do you see any lines that maybe I missed or didn't cover? If you did, please leave some comments. I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to know what you guys thought about this game. Otherwise, have yourself a great, great day. Take care, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode.